In 1995, a journey that would span decades, touch countless lives, and spread the gospel around the world began. This is the story of Clayton King Ministries. But before we dive into the beginning, let's go back a little further. It was 1986 when a 14-year-old Clayton King gave his life to Christ and answered the call to preach. That same time, Shari was called to ministry, became a camp staffer, and traveled on her first international mission trip. These experiences ignited a passion for ministry and solidified callings in young Clayton and Shari, callings that would carry them and guide their steps for decades to come. On March 27, 1987, at the age of 14, Clayton preached his very first sermon. This marked the beginning of his vocational life of preaching the gospel and making disciples. Opportunities to preach came flooding in, and by 1991, Clayton was regularly preaching up to 8 weeks straight at student summer camps across the Southeast. After preaching at countless churches and student events, Clayton set his sights on a dream to not only travel and preach, but to host his own summer camp that would bring churches from across the region together. It all came to fruition in 1996, the year of the very first Crossroads summer camp.
That first year, I think it just really caught everybody by surprise, and especially the staff of Gardner-Webb. We had no idea when these students started descending upon the campus just what we were in for, and the way that God not only took that first year, but the way He grew that first year.
In 1997, God began orchestrating a love story that only He could, and Clayton and Shari's separate paths finally merged. The two hit it off, and she soon became a staffer in the summer of '97. By the end of that summer, Clayton and Shari were officially dating. The two of them then embarked on a mission trip to India that same year, founding Crossroads Missions and expanding the ministry's reach globally. The momentum continued. In 1998, CKM launched its first Crossroads Winter Conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Clayton began hosting his own radio show, Clayton King Live. Just 1 year later, Clayton and Shari married, solidifying their partnership in life and ministry. 1999 also saw the publication of Clayton's first book, Journals of a Madman, detailing his stories of preaching and doing ministry around the world. This sparked the beginning of the King's writing careers, including numerous books and Bible studies that would be read by thousands all over the globe for decades to come. With more opportunities came an increased need to expand the CKM team. By 2001, CKM introduced its first internship program, which would eventually expand into a year-long intensive program called the Crossroads Discipleship Home, otherwise known as CDH. Before they knew it, it was 2005, and CKM was celebrating 10 years
setting up for our 10th annual summer camps here at Crossroads
of life-changing ministry.
I started off by attending camp as a middle school boy in 8th grade, where I surrendered that summer to God's call in my life to go into ministry. Several years later, when I graduated high school after attending camp all of those years with my youth pastor from Apex Baptist Church, I had the opportunity to work as a summer staffer at Gardner-Webb University.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're here live at Crossroads.
Best summer of my life, but it's there that I learned the ins and outs, the grind, the hustle, and just the hands-on discipleship aspect of what it looked like to be in ministry. When I took my first job, the only place I knew to take students was to camp. Your investment, the deposit that you've put in my life, has made me into the man that I am today. I literally could not imagine my life where I am without Crossroads and Clayton King Ministries. Thank you.
It's been unbelievable to see the exponential growth of Crossroads in the first 10 years or so, the way that the community came together to support it, how many people who volunteered and even served in local churches that were part of the Crossroads ministry, people who had served as campers at Crossroads, who became employees at the university and enriched the university because of that. There was just this interwoven aspect, I guess you would say, of the community in Crossroads, but also to see the way that God did exceedingly and abundantly more than Clayton or Shari or the Crossroads team could ever ask or imagine. When you think about the missions emphasis, when you think about the countless numbers of students who were impacted in those early years, and youth ministers, student ministers who were encouraged as a result of that, the winter retreat, all of those things that God did exceedingly and abundantly above all that we could ask or imagine.
Hey, we're Jason and Lake and Cheese Gel. And way before we moved to the jungle of Papua New Guinea, we were two high schoolers going to Crossroads summer camp.
In 2006, God challenged me through Clayton to go on a mission trip. I had 100 excuses not to go, but I knew the Lord was nudging me. So that Christmas, I went on my first short-term mission trip to India. I met orphans, and I saw a kind of poverty and spiritual need that I'd never seen before. God started stirring something deep inside of me.
And I visited Grant and Charlene Campbell in India. And that trip challenged me in a real way. God used that trip to start tugging my heart towards missions.
Those trips were a turning point. CKM didn't just send us, they sparked something in us.
In India, God lit the fire. After those mission trips, we joined CKM's summer staff at Crossroads, and that's where a lot changed for us.
That's where we met some of our closest friends and mentors, people who discipled us, challenged us, and encouraged us to dream big for the gospel. Those relationships didn't end when camp did. The people we met during summer staff kept in touch, kept investing in us, and kept fanning the flame to go, to reach the unreached.
CKM gave us community, clarity, and courage. That season helped aim our lives towards the nations.
By 2008, the ministry was actively sending and supporting missionaries worldwide. At this point, young men and women who surrendered to a call to missions at Crossroads events were living out that call in multiple nations around the world.
After years of dreaming, praying, and preparing, we moved our family to Papua New Guinea to plant a church in an unreached people group.
We started by learning the language, building relationships, and laying the groundwork for the gospel.
And now, 8 years later, we've taught the full story of Jesus, and we've seen a church born here in the jungle.
Through every step, CKM has stayed in our corner, cheering us on, praying for us, checking in, and reminding us we're not alone.
They've supported us spiritually, relationally, even practically, helping us with things like the roof over our heads, and even the computer I use for teaching and translation, and so many other needs along the way.
CKM, you've celebrated the victories, carried the burdens, and stayed faithful through it all.
From summer camp to the jungle, you've been with us the whole way.
2014 marked another major milestone when the ministry relocated to Anderson, South Carolina. This opened the door to unprecedented growth in all areas of ministry.
I remember the last morning of Crossroads at Gardner-Webb University because I'd asked Clayton for a special favor to be able to come up on stage and to present a check from the Office of Christian Life at Gardner-Webb to the missions offering that took place that summer. And I remember that I could barely make it through it because there were so many tears, because I was still in this grief process of not only losing something that had been important to the campus, but also very important to my family. The first time I ever saw my kids raise their hands in worship were at Crossroads camps. To see my kids just surrender and to lift their hands in worship, I'll never forget those memories.
With the move to Anderson, the impact of CKM continued to extend far beyond summer camp, and God was working through every area of the ministry. CKM was booking their team of speakers and worship leaders for events across the country. Winter Conference grew into a new, larger space, and Crossroads Missions was still sending even more teams to support the work of our partners around the world. And by 2019, Crossroads Summer Camp was now welcoming over 5,000 students and leaders annually over 6 weeks of summer camp. As CKM changed through the years, so did its reach to a broader audience. With resources like radio shows, coaching, marriage events, and Ministry Leader Connect Days, CKM continued to build a lasting legacy, not just to students, but to all generations. In 2020, along with the rest of the world, CKM experienced one of its biggest hurdles to date, navigating the COVID-19 pandemic.
The dominoes had started falling. Everything was being canceled. My preaching events were being canceled, but we're still holding on to hope that we can do summer camp, because as far as our ministry goes, the biggest thing we do is summer camp. It's also the greatest source of income for our income streams. We have multiple income streams, but camp honestly floats us and allows us to do other ministry that does not make money. It actually costs money. And so when it became a reality that camp was going to be canceled, man, I remember us sitting around the conference room table, just kind of freaking out internally, going, what are we going to do? One of our staff members even moved to Anderson the day the world shut down. The day everything closed officially from the federal government standpoint was her first day here, and she ended up carrying so much of the weight of creating what became Crossroads Hometowns, which was the free resource we provided to churches that summer. Crossroads Summer Camp right there in your own hometown.
The impact of COVID resulted in the cancellation of events into the following year, including 2 weeks of camp during the summer of 2021.
We are going to have to cancel Crossroads Week 3.
After financial losses and event cancellations, the ministry wasn't sure if they would ever be able to regain the traction and momentum it had prior to the pandemic.
We knew that he would be faithful.
Yeah.
It was just putting our hands out like this to say how. Like, we're an event-based ministry. We can't host events. So,
We've lost every event.
Yeah, so
speakers, mission trips, everything.
So what are we supposed to do if we can't host events? And so I think it was another really cool thing from my perspective in an office context to see how our ministry team shifted from a lot of the weight being carried by the event-based team to being shifted to the weight being carried by our team that was over technology.
Yeah.
That we were able to still provide a lot of great ministry resources through things that were online.
But God wasn't done with Clayton King Ministries. Through his mercy and guidance, the generosity of donors, and the faithfulness of church partners, the ministry was able to bounce back stronger than ever. Today, Clayton King Ministries celebrates over 30 years of impact through summer camp, winter conference, mission trips, Bible tours, booking speakers and worship leaders, resources, and most recently, providing a retreat and refuge for events and overnight stays through our brand new lakeside Crossroads Retreat, located right here in Anderson, South Carolina. Currently, CKM serves well over 300 unique churches and organizations representing more than a third of the United States, 5 countries, and tens of thousands of individuals. Throughout the years, we have trained and developed over 900 summer staff, seen 150,000 individuals attend our events and mission trips, and raised over $1.5 million to support our missions efforts through our love offering. But the most powerful number? Over 250,000 decisions for Christ. That's 250,000 lives changed, hearts transformed, callings answered, and commitments made to walk in obedience with Jesus. And we believe that's something worth celebrating. The Lord deserves all the glory, honor, and praise for the story and impact of Clayton King Ministries over the past 30 years. What started as a vision of a few has become a movement shaped by countless men and women dedicated to Christ's mission. This is all a testament to what God can do through his people. We've seen God do the miraculous over and over through the years, but the story isn't over. We will continue to faithfully preach the gospel and make disciples until all have heard.